Doing a live. We'll see how it goes. It's a Saturday. It's been very gloomy weather for the last few days here in Kansas. Everything's green. Has it rained? So it's beautiful, but it's just so gloomy. All the sky is gray, as they say, and the mamas and the papas. Yeah, I'm here, and I guess I'll talk politics, but if anyone has any questions, I can answer those. I can pull out the cards. So I guess I'll talk about how yesterday was such a heavy day in, I don't know, for me, but I think for a lot of us, and it really reminded me of November, around the event in November, um, and how the energy, just even like the sky being gray for days on end, it's just like a really dark energy, weird things, seeing weird things, experiencing really heavy negativity in the world, and just feeling like there was a dark, heavy cloud on everything. And sometimes I really feel like it's the when we start to get closer to all of us coming together, that's when the dark forces, like Darth Vader. I mean, Star Wars is a perfect example of how you have the dark versus light, like knights from the not medieval, but you know I'm talking about, from the time of King Arthur, where you had the light and dark fighting each other. Is really what this is. Well, anyway, so that's what it felt like. And I felt like there must have been something to that. We must have been where we were all getting together. The courts were and are holding firm and really fighting for the Constitution against, and I'll call them 45. And it's the dark side fought back. I'll call it Darth Vader fought back. It was just really dark, negative energy, and I felt myself just so depleted. I went to work and I just was not in the mood to be in public, but I did it, and I have to do it tonight again. But things do feel better. The weather's still dark, but I feel like things have lightened a lot. Them saying they're going to snatch up people from their homes, children, sending children. And let me talk about that, because that's very I mean, everything they do is to break us down, right? Us people who have love in our hearts and wish well for each other. Taking children, and like one child has cancer, and they snatched them and sent them out of the country. And I just think that's as low as you can go. I mean, that really, you can't get much worse than that, in my opinion. But my grandmother was an orphan, and she was sent from New York as a 1-year-old, so basically a toddler, a baby, was sent to Missouri, Taos, Missouri, from New York. A mere baby, no mother, no one to comfort her. I'm sure someone had to hold her on the trip, but they sent her and other children to be adopted, and she was adopted into a family who, the mother obviously had issues, and abused my grandmother every day, beat her, burned her with an iron repeatedly, threw her down a flight of stairs. It's too loud. And so my grandmother was terribly abused. And by the age of 14, pretty much left the country, really kind of like the Ozarks, and went to Kansas City, where she met my grandfather, who at that time was a lawyer in Kansas City. But it wasn't an easy life, and that's just here in America. Now you can imagine how bad it would be in a foreign country. I got to turn this down. I picked this nature channel, but it's, oh crap, whatever. Okay, I'll just leave it off. Unless I can find it. Doggone it. Don't you hate that? Maybe I can get it back again. Let me try it. But I just don't want it to be so loud. Nature, you're too loud. Yeah, can you imagine another country? And here's the thing, people saying they want this. Oh, they're illegal, they're this or that. I don't think there's any way you can really justify doing that to a mere child. But let me say this. A child hasn't broken the law. They don't know laws. They don't know any of those things. And going from one country, one home, one household, parents, to a foreign country where you could be sold off, raped, abused, etc., etc. That's just inhumane, awful. So, we had the judge that was arrested, and I was saying how honestly I've been wondering why more judges or more people in positions of power, the head of Social Security, the head of a college, et cetera, et cetera, why more people haven't been arrested. I mean, we don't want people to break the law. We don't want them to be arrested, but it's against the law to not uphold the Constitution. So that's happening everywhere. So I don't know. There, you might see this beautiful cardinal on the fence. Maybe not. He's on the fence over there. Nope, he flew away already. Um, but it's hard, but it's all meant to break us down. That's really what this is. Hello, Fatima. Blessings to you. Good to see you here. Yeah, we have to uphold each other because these really are. It's good time. It's not good times, but it's bearable times, and you could catch your breath, and you go out in the springtime, so it's beautiful outside. But then you read the news, and I suppose we could not read the news or watch the news. I don't watch the news, but I do read the news, and it's very upsetting. It would be nice to just close your eyes and not think about it. And I do think there's value in, like, let's say you have Tibetan monks up in, what's the mountain, Mount Everest, and they don't read the news, but they manifest, they pray, they meditate. And I feel there's value in that because I feel there's value in them healing us through that type of activity. The rest of us, here we are in this world with these problems, and we have to figure out how to support each other. Now, 45 would like us just all to give up. It's not wants us to all fight him, and then he could send us to jail and send us out the country. That's not it. Really, his goal is, as a narcissist, to make us despair and give up, and to join the dark side. And that's really what it is. It's an epic battle of dark and light. That what we would do is you get tired, and you say, "Well, I can't handle this anymore, so I'm just going to join them." If you can't beat them, you join them. So then you say, whatever, I don't want to worry about immigrants anymore. So I'm just gonna just let it all go and ride with the people who are winning, if you call it winning. And then it's much easier, right? But you sold your soul. you know, you could, so like this judge, we don't know exactly which, she's out on bail, by the way. But in any normal context, yeah, you wouldn't want a judge to go against the law. We don't want that. But this is this is different. So you have your physical jail, which you may be in for a few years because you decided to defend a child and protect them from being sent off, like an Anne Frank. And you said, well, I'll protect this child. And then you get thrown in jail for a few years, or maybe your whole life. Or eternal jail, which is where you didn't protect the child and you allowed 45 and others to send innocents to another country where they are sold off and raped and abused and killed. And, so there's eternal jail or physical jail. And I guess, to me, I just don't understand why more people haven't chosen to uphold the Constitution. Let's see. What the heck did he go and do at the Vatican? He's not. Oh, I know. Let's talk about that, the Vatican. First, I thought, well, they'll probably just send a body double because I feel like 45 was scared to leave the country for various reasons. And one of the biggest ones is that Iran doesn't like him at all. If you know what I mean. They don't like him. And he knows that. But he also is afraid to leave the country because what if he leaves and there's like a coup and they, I've heard other people say this and I agree with it, that there could be a coup and then he doesn't get to come back. And I'm talking about his own people doing it. But he did go, and it's clear that it was him because he was in the front row sleeping. He forced his way into the front row. He wasn't supposed to probably even be there, but he forced his way and then was on his phone when he wasn't sleeping. And also you saw probably that he wore that ugly, the big blue suit that he never changes. It really is like he's a character. If you ever watch Scooby-Doo, everybody in that show has an outfit that they wear every episode. Or if you watch Darth Vader, same outfit every movie. The cartoon bad guys always have a suit that they always wear. Like, there's that bad guy. He's the guy in the blue suit. 45 is like that. He's just determined. He's determined to always wear the I don't know why, because blue is the color of democracy right now. We identify with it. So I'm not sure why, but he was the only one. If you look at the whole wide picture, there's just that one guy in the blue suit at someone's funeral. Even Melania had the sense to put on like a veil, because I guess that's required. But they looked miserable. And also, so Zelensky out and let me reach comment. Oh my God, did he fall? So yeah, they show pictures where he's asleep. So can you imagine forcing your way into the front row, and his views and his actions are the complete opposite of Pope Francis, what he upheld and preached. But he forced his way in the front row as usual, and and then falls asleep and he literally was on his phone. I just don't know. It's so embarrassing. Um, but yeah, was okay. So what was I gonna say? Oh, Zelensky came out and he had a round of applause because clearly everyone loves Zelensky, and we are in ass backwards or back asswards in America here for entertainment purposes only. But it's you could look at it as a comedy. Like Charlie Chaplin said, life up close is a tragedy, from far away it's a comedy. And that's, sometimes you just have to go, you know what, that's pretty funny. This, because he's such a bumbling jerk, isn't he, to go 45 to do that. I mean, vanity. Oh, and the other thing was, I guess Biden could have invited former presidents, he could have invited Biden onto Air Force One, but no. Honestly, Biden wanted to be on the plane with, I mean, that would be a miserable, miserable flight. But it would save money and emissions into the atmosphere. But no, 45 wouldn't do that because he's stingy. And yeah, these 4 years can't go by fast enough. I'm wasting my life away, and all losing years of our life, pushing time to go by faster to get him out of our consciousness and our physical reality. And we're losing years of our life with this guy. But what do I want to say? I had something to say. Oh, that's what I was talking about. And I don't agree with everything she says, but I do agree with a lot of how she's sort of talked us off the ledge of it's going to be okay. There's not going to be military, what was that thing? He was going to do martial law, which is illegal, but he threatened to do it. I don't think he's going to last 4 years. Yeah, I don't think. With his health, there's no way. There's no way. And the astrologer Rick Ved, I've watched his videos, and he's pretty extreme, but he's very clear that the Maharishi said, per planetary alignments and all of that, that 45 is going to go down this year. And I've heard other people say that now. Do I know that for sure? No. I almost feel like 45 is like a vampire. At some point, some vampire bit him, and he's like alive. And he looks like he's not alive inside. He's just still there, though. And he won't go away. And leave it to him to let a vampire make him immortal. Took his soul, and and he just won't go away. But no, if you look at him, he doesn't look healthy. And I don't think he's going to last 4 years either. And we can't. The universe, we can't handle this for 4 years. I don't think it's going to be for another full year, to be honest. Now, some people say they see him in here for the next, whatever. I don't know. I can't even think about that, to be honest. I don't feel that he looks good. I've never felt he was going to last more than a year because he's so unhealthy. And I just feel like there's not much left. Now, the Pope died. The Pope was only like 88, right? My mother died in her age, 2019. I don't think 45 has that much left, let's be honest. And I don't wish anyone harm, but yeah, it doesn't have much left. Now, come on, phone, charge. You better be charging. Well, if this cuts off, I won't charge properly. But what was I going to say? Oh, gather myself together. Gather myself. I wanted to talk about Knitting Cult Lady and how she talked about how 45 almost is heading toward his own destruction, like Jim Jones. And that's common with cult leaders. Now, I grew up, my father was in a religious cult. I saw a cult firsthand. So I understand all of this. that's why I think I've always been fascinated with Jim Jones. I've always sort of seen through this. I've always seen through 45. And um, again, I don't wish ill will on him or anyone, but his project 2025 is like a manifesto. And the first time I heard about it, I was like, oh, that sounds like a manifesto like Jim Jones. And I've always compared 45 to Jim Jones. They're very similar, even the way they talk is similar. And people, I just saw my views go up from 7 down to 1. And I have to say, people say negative things about 45, and there are people who get really upset. They just want to hear that they're in a cult. They want to hear that he's a god. He's their that's a cult thing to refer to someone as your daddy. Follow your daddy. It's also sexually related. Um, we got to get people out of this cult. That's the biggest thing. Okay. So Jim Jones, he had a manifesto, and a lot of cult leaders have manifestos where they have this great big ending, and then they can say, see, I told you so, the world was against me. And I gathered all you people together. I tried to protect myself, tried to tell everyone the world was against me. But they're the ones who cause their own destruction. And you could look at 45, he's causing his own destruction. And he's trying to bring everyone down with him now. None of what he's doing makes any sense. I'm not even sure if he knows how bad it is. They're taking away money for elderly people, Social Security, Medicaid, all of this, Meals on Wheels, education, schools, college. They took away programs like degrees, entire degree program, like associates for arts, history, Black history, women's history, entire educational degrees that people have, and then this whole thing with the student loan that people can't. There's no way people can pay, so everyone's credit's going to be bad, like me. I've been going through this. After a while, you're just like, whatever. What am I going to do? You tried so hard, and then it's just all like, who cares about eggs anymore? We're all going to be in the same boat, and you're like, how are we going to survive? It's crazy what he's doing. The fact that he's taking away testing for milk, for chicken, it's insane. Like, I was driving home the other night, and I was like, we're at such a low point in this country, and now we can't even eat chicken or drink milk because it's so bad. That's insane. That's insanity to allow one guy to destroy everything to the point where you can't even consume food anymore because you might die. I mean, that's the point of insanity. That's Kool-Aid. That's the Kool-Aid incident. And here it's just killing us slowly. We're just slowly gonna all die and starve and be homeless. But something's going to break, at some point. The World Council will call him crimes against humanity. And he already angered. There's some guy yesterday at the Pope's funeral, I guess, where they had a thing. And the guy's like, oh, yeah, well, we'll take you out. And that's not Americans. This is someone from another country, like Iran or something. People don't like him. Anyway, the manifesto. His manifesto is to destroy everything with him. I don't see it happening. I think he's destroying himself. And we will get through this. Spirit has always told me to have hope. We will get through this. But it's hard. It's really hard right now. And I'm not here to make everyone think, oh, doomsday, everything's, it's bad, but we are going to get through it. And I think the way that we get through it is states start to secede, and the courts keep fighting. And I think this whole thing with the children is going to come back to bite him, because you just don't do that. And those are crimes against humanity, and a world council is going to have to hold him accountable. And again, I don't wish anyone harm, but children are being taken. Children are not criminals. Children are not criminals. We're at the point where I saw something the other day after the Pope died, and people were like, obviously MAGA were like, well, the Pope was bad. It's like, really? He was like the best Pope ever. I grew up after my parents divorced, and I didn't have to be in my dad's cult anymore. I was kind of in the cult of the Catholic Church, but also the Catholic Church is very aligned with what I see, like the divine, the angels and all that. Catholics can run the gamut from, being kind of jerks, but most of them I've noticed are really have a good conscience because they do follow Jesus. Just as a man, you don't have to say that what Jesus was, but he was a man, and his teachings were really beautiful and really of true intelligence, which is compassion, and compassion and true intelligence is the knowledge that of other people's suffering. And once you understand another person's suffering, you wish to end that suffering through love and brotherhood and sisterhood. And that is the only key into heaven, is to forgive and to have compassion. But the only way is to understand another person's suffering. That is mindfulness, and that is compassion. That is the light of the world, and that is heaven. You will not get into whatever heaven is. You will not get into heaven without true love and compassion. If you wish another harm, if you wish children to be taken, which is already in itself a life ending experience, to be taken from your parents, but to be shipped off to another country to be sold and raped and abused, that is the meaning of basic hell. That is hell. That is anti compassion. And that is not how you get into heaven. And the Pope was for compassion. Cameron Murray, one must remove the log from their eye before telling others of the splinter in theirs. Exactly. You're Catholic, yeah. I've raised Catholic. I had all the sacraments, and I love Catholics, but I spent many of my Sunday dinners at my aunt's house with priests and aunts, there, nuns, priests and nuns, and they were all very beautiful people. Now, do you hear about the bad ones? Yes, but my experience was that I met very beautiful, funny, lively, warm people, and that were kind. Um, and also, my brother went to all boys Catholic high school, a boarding school, and that was paid for by the community, by the church, in the hopes that he would become a priest. And he did go to a Catholic college in Indiana, a seminary called St. Meinrad. And he's a beautiful person. He's a very he services, he helps the disabled community, and he's very funny and intelligent. And I've always looked up to my brother, his humor and his service. JFK had faults, but he was a man of service. He created the Peace Corps. He was Catholic. There's many good Catholics. I just wish that the Catholic religion would accept birth control. They don't have to accept abortion except for in extreme situations. But I just wish that they would have female priests, which some do, I've heard, but also that they would allow birth control, because that would prevent abortion and it would give power back to women again. We need to, Virgin Mary was, she had a choice, and she chose the ultimate love, but she didn't have to do that. She didn't have to do that. And by giving birth, and I believe she was raped, and she decided to keep Jesus. And well, anyway, that's getting in a whole other thing. I could go on forever. Yes, many Sunday dinners talking about religion and politics, because I was raised Catholic. Anyway. So I'm glad you guys are here, and I hope you did have a beautiful Lent and a beautiful Easter and Passover and Good Friday and all of everyone. Hope you had a wonderful weekend and week. These are rough times, but we do have each other. It will be okay. I think if you watch Andre Astrology, he talks about how this is a really bad time for 45 coming up, and also Musk. And everything I say is for entertainment purposes only. But we just get through each day at a time. So anyway, does anyone have any questions? I could pull, as I always do, I'll pull some cards. Let's do that. I'll pull some cards real quick. I like to do Archangel Michael because he's or Saint Michael, because he's with us all the time and protects us. Yeah, let us know about how was, okay, here's the thing. I know that there are supporters of 45 in other countries, but generally people don't like him for good reason. Now here in America, we are in a state where we can't really say much, and we don't see much, but I get the impression that other countries see right through all of this and 45. And also we know that traveling here and there is not the easiest at this point. kind of scary, to be honest. I'm still trying to find my birth certificate. I have a copy of it somewhere. I paid for it 2 years ago, and I can't find it, and it's very frustrating because I have to do the real ID thing, and yeah, I'm very frustrated. Okay, Archangel Michael. Ask Archangel Michael to help you with this situation. Well, maybe that's for my birth certificate, but also that's for what's going on in our world and politics. Archangel Michael, thank you for assisting me, us, with the situation of 45 and taking children, taking immigrants. Help us uphold the Constitution. Help us maintain the programs, the colleges, the money that help us as a humanity. Help us keep our humanity, Archangel Michael, and protect us from dark, negative energy and actions. Please help us be filled with faith and peace at all times. Believe and trust. Here, I'll show you. Believe and trust. Before going to sleep tonight, say, Archangel Michael, please enter my dreams and replace fear with faith and trust. Let me be filled with strength, courage, and confidence. There you go. You know, our angels and God and the angels, the divine, they're always with us. I was telling my son last night that you can have a million years of darkness, but the minute someone lights a candle, that pierces the darkness with light. And that's really the best way to describe what we're going through. We have been, the universe, the humanity has been through very dark times before, and we do get through it. And once we get through it, we usually have a great, like a renaissance, right? So I guess we should look at it this way. It will end. It's always worse before it gets better. It's exposing all really, really horrible people in society. And we are kind of in the upside down. Everything's, the backwards. But we will get through it. And once we get through it, we will have a beautiful renaissance. And that's cool. And that usually comes with the enlightenment of literature, arts, music, etc. Most young people in the UK are very aware of what's happening in the US. I suppose we are affected by what goes on there quite a bit, yeah. I'm Canadian. I also feel very bad about what's happening in the USA. Yeah, it's pretty bad. And it's not just here, but it is here. We have this, it's just crazy to me to think that one person, one human being, and it's not just one, but really it is. He's the one that is like the doorway of all of this, because without him, I feel a lot of this would just completely fall apart. He is like the Antichrist. He's in fact, if I find these cards, let me see if I can find it. There's this card in the archetype cards called God. And if you look at it, the opposite is what describes 45 perfectly. So let me see if I can find it here. Okay, and I forgot what I was saying, but so let me find this card. See, there's Goddess. I'll find it. Mystic Seeker. Oh, and I just want to say, if you're here and you want to donate any money, I do have on my my description, I have a PayPal. I'm trying to get buy me a coffee, which would be like buy me gas, because I need gas to get to work. Any little bit helps. But if you don't have it, I understand, because most of us don't have any money right now, and I totally understand. I'm just glad you're here. And come on, it'll be the last card that shows up. There it is. Okay. God. And interestingly enough, it shows a female. It says, I'll show it to you and then I'll read it. Okay, the positive attributes are benevolence and compassion, recognizing the eternal force within yourself and others, because we are all connected. Now, down here at the bottom would be the opposite. Shadow attributes, despotism and cruelty, using power to control people. That's the opposite of God. And that's what 45 does. And it's because he's very insecure. He's a very insecure, I think he was born that way. But honestly, I feel like his parents destroyed him. His mother abandoned him. His father was a horrible example. And then the father figure he clung to was Roy Cohn, who was like the worst mobsterish tyrant. And he was raised on the Feast of Fools and is a very corrupted person. Now, if I was thinking, if he loved 45, they would wish him to just retire, write a book, have a, a TV show like on Lifetime Network or TLC or what have you, and be healthy. We us Democrats or just whoever isn't 45, we didn't want to hate him. We told everybody, we said, please don't do this. Please don't put him back in power. Please. We don't want it for him. We don't want it for us. It's like the worst thing you can back in power. And he's destructive. He's just a chaos agent. He's a narcissist, so he knows not what he does. It's just all about his ego drives him with everything. He's cruel. I feel he's the Antichrist by his actions, by that card alone. But we didn't want this. We tried to warn everybody. We said, please don't put him back in power. Please. It's going to cause his destruction. It's causing our destruction, but we'll get through it. But the pain and misery of children, I mean, come on. And not only that, and what's I trying to say? He could have had a happy life, and we didn't want to hate him. That's why we said we don't want to vote for him, because we didn't want to hate him. It's been forced upon us. And, I think there's something to be said for that. It wasn't about that we were choosing Kamala or Joe Biden or whoever candidate would. I wanted Bernie Sanders way back when. But it's not about that. We just didn't want to have to hate someone. We didn't want that in our life. We wanted to be happy and love each other and have hope in our country and for people to eat and children to be safe and happy. So, but yeah, he's causing his destruction, and the courts are just having to fight back every step of the way. Thank God we have our Constitution. Yes, it's being challenged, but it will win. It will win. We're not alone, and we will get through this. So but we have to help each other. I saw Bernie Sanders a couple weeks ago. He did a speech about the 1%. He's great. I love Bernie Sanders. And he was looking great too. Like he looks like his strength and his back is straighter. And AOC, I love AOC. I feel like she has I felt like she was Joan of Arc in a past life. But yeah, they're great. I would love either one of them to be president. If Obama would totally love him, but AOC would be great. Anyway, I'm going to end this. Thank you guys so much for being here. And I'll try to come back this week crazy. But I like to do these. I like to be here for you guys. And I like to bring a message of hope, because we really do have hope. We have these dark times. Say your prayer, say your manifestations. I've always said is you've got to say, I'm at my top reality, because we slide down into these negative realities, and we have different realities and it's like a pyramid, and you got to get your way back up to that top good reality, and picture yourself, you're on the top, try not to slip down to the bottom. So bye, Fatima. You have a blessed weekend too. Cameron, thanks for being here. You have a good day too, and I'll come back this week. Thanks everyone. Take care. Bye.